Okay. Can you see me now? Let's see if I fixed it. Let me know in the chat if you can see and hear me. I set this up a funky way this time and I might have messed it up. Let's see. Give me a hello. I can see you in the chat. If you can see and hear me, let me know. Yes. All right. I think we are in. I just want to confirm with y'all in the chat. Can you hear me and see me? Yes. Okay. Wow. All right. Woo. Sorry about that. Sorry we're starting late. I had some technical difficulties, but I figured it out. This is like team, I'm not technical, but I figure it out anyway over here. That's all of us, including myself. I am not a tech genius. I just figure stuff out as I go and I find scrappy ways to do stuff. So we're on the same boat here. Yes. Okay, good. Thank you. I can see I can see yous, yeses. You can see and hear me. All right. Good. Cool. Apologies for being late, but sometimes tech difficulties happen. Okay, so how is the challenge going? How's the challenge going? How many of you guys put a 1 in the chat if you have been participating in the 5-day challenge? Give me like a number 1 if you have been participating in the challenge. Let me know. Give me a 1. And I'd love to hear just how it's been going. I'm really here to answer questions, help you with things. And I actually have a cool bonus for folks who are here and who are joining my live. I have a cool perk for you guys since you are here hanging out with me on the live. But let me know in the chat, how is the challenge going? I see 1s. Okay, y'all are in the challenge. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I will give you a quick update. I'm doing a free 5-day challenge to teach people how to build apps without knowing how to code at all. And so we are building this week a replica of Tinder. And so every day there's a little mini assignment and you do the mini assignments and you follow along. That's how it works. So if you're not part of the challenge, you can go to challenge.appswithoutcode.com. Today's the last day you can get in though. It's like the last day because it's a 5-day challenge and everything shuts down on Sunday. So I want to make sure you actually have 5 days to do it. Does that make sense? So today is the last day you can get in. If you have friends or family or like somebody who's been talking about their app idea and they can't shut up about it, tell them about it because today's the last day they can get in at challenge.appswithoutcode.com. So I want to hear from you guys what questions you have. What questions do you have that have popped up from the challenge? It could be questions about your own app idea. It could be questions about the challenge. It could be questions about the bootcamp program and the training program that I have. But what questions have popped up for you guys that you would like some clarification on? Some like, hey, can you help me think through this? And as you're thinking of your question, I want you to type your question in the chat. But as you are thinking through, I want to ask you guys a couple questions. So tell me in the chat if you are on day 1, day 2, or day 3. It's okay if you're a little bit behind. Tell me which day you're on in the chat. Day 1, day 2, or day 3. Just want to hear like where you guys are. It's okay if you're on day 1 or day 2. You have time. You have plenty of time to catch up. But just wanted to see. Woohoo! Rodney says, I had my call today with Ryan. I got my idea validated. Oh, and I'm officially in boot camp. Excited to work with you, Rodney. Awesome. Super excited to see that you are in boot camp. Awesome. And then, cool. Okay, I see questions coming in. Let me start answering questions. And if you have a question, please type it into the chat. I want to get to everybody's questions about their app idea, about boot camp, about all of that. So awesome. Carrie says the first video went well. I'm taking a lot of notes as I go. Great. I'm so glad. Okay, so Tina has a question. When you build your own app, can you copy functions from the free templates and use them? For example, can I copy a tab from the free, like the app that we're building together this week and put it into mine? Yeah, great question. So here's how this works. You can copy entire apps. So you can take an entire app and make a copy of all those features and then change the ones and remove the ones you don't want. You cannot make a copy of just one tab. So what I often do if I see another app that has something that I want, what I'll often do is I'll just put my app and the other app side by side. I will have to recreate it, but it's still totally worth it to do to sort of get some of that same functionality. Does that make sense? Yeah, so you can copy the entire app, but you can't copy just a tab from the app. And the reason why is because there could be all kinds of complex stuff that you've set up in the database connected to that tab, and so you can't just copy that. You'd have to recreate that. But it's really normal for you to deconstruct what happened in an app and redo it. And then Tina has another question. You mentioned paying to remove the Glide logo so your app looks more professional. Are there any other good recommendations for improving the brand or the quality or brand or customer experience? Yeah, my only other main recommendation when you're designing your app is this. Don't try to make as few clicks for the customer as possible. Sometimes people want to create like really, really complex, convoluted apps, and it doesn't help from your customer experience. You want your customer experience to be as streamlined and simple as possible, so as few clicks as possible, really. Yeah. Is Sohei, am I saying your name right? Sohei says, is there a way to include a social feed? Yeah, absolutely. You can absolutely put a social feed. You can put all kinds of things into your app. We're not going to do a social feed exactly in this app, but you absolutely could have like an Instagram like feed. In fact, if you look at day 3, and let's say you wanted to build like an Instagram style app, you would build it similarly to the matches tab in day 3 of the challenge. Go, if you haven't gotten to day 3, you'll see what I'm talking about. But there's sort of like a feed of posts. We had a feed of profiles, but you would have a feed of posts. So it's not all that different. But yes, you absolutely could have a social feed in your app. Do we need a patent, or do we need to legally protect our app idea before we get going? Like, how does that work? That question was from Lady V. Yeah, good question. So I learned this from my lawyer. I did not know this. I paid for this advice, so I'm just giving it to you for free, so you don't have to pay for it. You cannot legally protect your app idea until you've made it, until you made the app. So if you go to file paperwork and you're like, I have a unique idea, I want to protect the idea, and you go to a lawyer to do that, they'll be like, great, we need that. And you'll be like, well, I haven't done that yet. So it doesn't work that way. I actually didn't know that. It doesn't work that way. So you need to actually create something first before you can legally protect it. I think you should start building, start launching with customers, keep moving with that, and then you can circle back to that. Great question, though. Okay, Kadisha's on day 2. Melvin's on day 3. Okay, so he's day 1, day 3. Okay, got it. Cool. Halfway through day 3. Cool. Great. Awesome. It's totally fine wherever you are. If you haven't even started yet, that's also fine. You still have time to do the challenge. Today is the last day that you can join, but the challenge is open all the way through the weekend, and on Sunday is when it closes. Kelly has a question. Kelly's been considering using another platform, like one called Mighty Networks, and which I think you've heard me recommend before. Would an app I build with you, be able to do the same or similar things? Like if I teach you how to build the app, or if I build the app for you, will it be able to do the same things as Mighty Networks? Yes, it would. So the app that I will build for you will have a little bit more flexibility than the features and functionality that Mighty Networks has, but we can recreate the stuff that Mighty Networks has. Does that make sense? Yeah, cool. And then Catherine has a question. If I were to start an app that required many users, like Tinder to match up, how would you build the database without being 2 people? What do you mean without it being 2 people? Will we sell it to a company that already has a database? Okay, I'm not sure I fully understand your question. You're saying, Catherine, are you doing the challenge? Because in the challenge, we're building a Tinder style app to match people up. So I think you know that, though. So the question is, how would you build the database without it being two people? I'm not sure I understand your question. The database can have thousands of people in it. So you can have a bunch of people. Every person gets their own row in the database, right? So you could have a bunch of people just the way that we're building it now. You just keep adding people to your app and they will add themselves. And so I think your question is, do you have to already have a database? Is that what your question is? Can you clarify that for me, Catherine? I just want to make sure I'm answering the right thing for you. Ken says, where is the app going to be downloaded from? So in the challenge that we're doing this week, we're going to launch it. And on the last day, you're going to get a shareable link that you can share with people. So they'll be able to click on that link and be able to access your app. So we're not going to put the app that we're building this week into the App Store, although you could. We're not going to put it in Google or Android's App Store. The reason why is because I don't want you guys to incur the extra cost this week to put the app in the App Store. However, you can take the exact app that you build and you could put it in the App Store. We're just not going to do that together. We're going to build a mobile web app, which everybody can use if you just send them the link. So they don't have to download it. They can just click on it. They can add it to their home screen still on their phone, but anybody can use it, phone, computer, etc. Kay says, is there a message board or a chat room feature so that more than one user can communicate at a time? Yes, absolutely. There is that in Glide. We are not going to get to we're going to do one-to-one chat. We're not going to do one-to-many chat or message board chat in this week's challenge, but that's absolutely something we can do in the 8-week program in bootcamp. Yes, happy to show you how to do that. Happy to show you how to do that. Okay, other questions. You guys have lots of questions. Okay. How interactive can an app built with no code get? Would there be a limit before an actual developer has to come in? Good question. So it's not so much how interactive it is. It's more the limitation is more about the type of app that you want to build, because there are some things that they're just, in my opinion, are not good tools. They're not good no-code tools out there for what you're trying to build. So for example, if you want to build an app that exchanges cryptocurrency, it's just relatively new, and I have not seen a no-code tool that does it very well and easily. Now, let me preface this. I'm going to give you a disclaimer. Every time I say that there's not a tool for something, someone launches a tool, a no-code tool to do that. So things change. But cryptocurrency is one that's still tricky, and really advanced augmented reality. Like, you know how you have, or augmented reality or virtual reality. Those three things get tricky. Cryptocurrency, augmented reality, virtual reality get tricky. Other than that, you can build just about anything with no code now. Yeah. Natalie says, if you can copy an app on Glide, how can you maintain sole ownership? Okay, great question. So people can only copy your app if you have checked and enabled a checkbox in the settings that says that people can copy your app. If you don't go and check that on, people cannot copy your app. So the question earlier was about templates. So for example, in my 8-week training program, I have a bunch of templates that I've created for you guys. And for those templates, I enabled the fact that you can make a copy of them. So you can make a copy and use it for yourself. But for your app, you're not going to turn that feature on where people can make a copy. Does that clarify? Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Thank you. I started day 3, but I got swamped by work, so I'm going to go back after the live. Got it. Okay. Good. Awesome. Now, I'm going to pause from questions for 1 second because I have a really cool bonus for you guys that I didn't tell anybody about. You actually are the first ones to know about this, because technically tomorrow, but I actually just did it right before I got on live. So technically it's open now. I'm opening enrollment for my bootcamp program, my 8-week training program, and opening it to the public. It is first come, first serve. So if you already have gotten in, great, perfect. If you're not into the bootcamp program, the 8-week training program, I'm going to drop the link into the chat for you. And I want to specifically give you a discount code that is only available to folks who are on this live right now. And I'm going to give it to folks in the challenge only tomorrow. So I'm giving it to you first. This is the link right here. And let me share my screen so you can see what this looks like. This right here is share screen. Boom. Can you see my screen? This is the page for you to get signed up for my 8-week training program. Now, if you want to do, and I remember I told you there's 2 options for the program. So option number 1 is the full package. That's where I build the app for you and I teach you how to make your own changes. The other option is where I just teach you. So you can have actually access to both options right here. So if you scroll down on this page, if you want me to build the app for you, you should just check this checkbox right here. If you check that, it'll add that up here, right? And then this is the part that is new and unique and is just for you guys. If you go here to coupon code, I just activated this code for y'all, reactivated it. So if you type in the code FAST10 and then hit apply, there's a couple $100 off of the program right here for you. Now, this discount is just for people in the challenge. Please do not go sharing it with anybody. It's just for people in the challenge and expires on Sunday at the end of all of this, right? So you can go ahead and get it. If you know that you want to do boot camp, you can jump in right now because it's first come, first serve. But if you type in FAST10 into the link, you can get your 10% discount. And that's just for people who are on this live and part of the challenge. Make sense? Cool. Okay. Let me get other questions for y'all. Boom, boom. Let me type into the chat the discount code too. FAST10 for those of you who are getting signed up right now, because I know some of you guys are going to jump on that ASAP. Okay. Other questions. Let's see. Brenton says, how do you determine your app costs? Like how much you should charge for the app? Really great question. How much should you charge? Okay. So the way I'm going to get into this a little bit in detail, but I'm not going to go really thoroughly because we actually have a whole section of bootcamp where we talk about how much you should charge for your app idea. It really is going to depend on who your customers are. There is no like hard, fast rule about what to charge for your app. However, my recommendation is that you not charge anything under, usually my benchmark is like $50 a month. I'll give you like $40 a month to give you some wiggle room price point. And so the better question, I'd like to flip your question around, Brenton, on you. And the better question I think for you to ask yourself is, what do I need to include in my app experience for someone to be willing to pay $50 a month or up? That's the better question for you to ask, right? What do I need to include? So how do I need to position this? So the first thing that you want to think about is your customer. If you target your app to the average person, like to everybody, like anybody can use it, you will have a very hard time charging real money for your idea. Right? Very hard time. But if you position it and go after a very specific, niche, nuanced audience of customers, it's much easier to charge. So for example, let's say that you have an idea for an app about books, right? You could say like, hey, everybody I know does books and they like books and I think everybody could use it. Well, if you give it to everybody, you probably could charge like 99 cents, a couple dollars, something like that. But instead, I think what's useful is to ask yourself, who has a high willingness to pay? What kind of niche specific community has a high willingness to pay for something related to books. And I'm just brainstorming here. One might be like bookstores themselves who are struggling and going out of business because everything is going digital, and to have a digital experience for bookstores. Another might be to go after people who are in like academia, right? People who are in maybe not college students, but like graduate schools or graduate school students where like they've got to have access to specific types of books, right? So you want to go specific and niche because that allows you to charge higher price points. But in general, just to give you a general framework without going into the detail, all the details we'll do in the 8-week program. The thing to ask yourself is, what do I need to add to the experience to be able to charge that price point? That's the better way to think about it. Okay. Other questions. Catherine says, how do you build your app without starting one person at a time? No, that's how businesses start. You start one customer at a time. That is how businesses work. So there's no magic formula for not starting one person at a time. Now, there are lots of ways that you can do your marketing, of course, where you can get multiple people, but it's going to be one person at a time signing up. That's normal. That's how businesses work. What you might decide to do, Catherine, is you might decide to have a wait list of customers first. So you have people joining the wait list. So then when you have a good number of people, then you can have people go into the wait list. The other thing you can do, and actually this relates to Kelly's question, because Kelly says, I have a community of over 1,000 women on Facebook. So I'm trying to find something that provides a better user experience for the women to communicate. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, Kelly. I see what you're saying. You're saying about the community app. But the other way, I just want to point to what Kelly is mentioning unintentionally here, which is that like she created a community of people or tapped into an existing community of people. And that's something that you can do as well, Catherine, to not just start with one person. You can create a waiting list so that once you open the app, there's lots of people, or at least more than one person. You also, though, can start going to groups and communities and promoting it there so you have like a group of people. Make sense? Okay. Woo-hoo. Okay. So there's a question about white labeling. Can you do a quick overview of what white labeling means? Yes, absolutely. So white labeling means that you ask yourself what kinds of companies or organizations would want to have their own version of your app. What kinds of companies or organizations would want to have their own version? And you make a copy of the app, and you take your logo off and you put their logo on to the app, right? So that's how this works. And so the way that you white label is to make a copy of your app, and you can do this for an unlimited number of customers, right? You can have 100, 1,000 customers that you white labeled your app for. Cool. Okay. Lady V says, how do you know if your app requires code? That's a good question. If you tell me in the chat what you want your app to do, I'm happy to just give you direction on if you need code or not. Cool. Sweet. Rory says, I completed day 3 and I'm loving the challenge so far. You have a great teaching style and direction. You've opened up my eyes to not only what's possible with Glide, but also how intuitive and easy it is to use. I love it. Oh, I'm so glad this is helpful. Yes. Awesome. Natalie says, will Glide allow us to integrate APIs? Yeah, the easiest way to integrate stuff into Glide is via Zapier. And you can do some integrations, yes. We're not going to do it in the challenge, but yes. Okay, let's see. I want to make sure I'm not missing any questions as I scroll through. Awesome. Sharita says, I've already completed bootcamp. I'm just finishing up my app. Awesome. I love it. Cool. Okay, there's a question about security and protecting user information as well as company info. It's a great question. Okay, so when you think about the security of your app, this is how it works. When you use Glide or any other no-code tool that I have recommended to you, the way that those softwares work is they actually use in the background, they're using the same data storage services that you would use if you were building the app the traditional way with code. So they're using Amazon Web Services or Google Firebase. Those are the names of the two softwares that they are typically going to be using, right? Amazon Web Services or Google Firebase. That is exactly what you want to be using, because those companies have a really, really great reputation for securely hosting and housing company info, just data that comes into your app. So you don't have to do anything special with Glide to get access to those systems. You don't have to do anything special or different. All you have to do is set up your database the normal way, and you're already actually housing your data with those things in the background. They've sort of taken care of it for you. Cool. Okay. Awesome. Oh, I see that there's someone who was trying to get access to the homework assignment. You're in boot camp. I actually saw your email come in. We're looking into this for you right now to see why you can't see it. So I'm working on that. I saw that. If you were making an app that had to pull from data from a number of databases, is that possible? Yeah, you would have to put it all into one place, but yeah, you can pull information from multiple places and then put it into your database. That makes sense? Cool. And then Michelle, yeah, that's a good question. You want to jump back into bootcamp? Send me an email. If you email support@appsofthatcode.com, we can get you hooked up. Cool. Okay. Natalie says, I need help with extensive algorithm. Wait, where'd your question go? I just lost it. Okay, I need algorithms for specific scheduling and calendar making with multiple variables. Yeah, can you tell me more about this? Because you can do pretty complex scheduling and calendar making and algorithms inside of Glide. So yes, you can totally do that with no code. If you want to tell me in more detail, I can be more specific. But yes, thus far, you haven't said anything that's not possible. Cool. All right. Brent says, I know exactly how I want my app to be and the phases. It's a niche app. I'm ready to go. I love it. Yes. Okay. Brenton says, what's the average turnaround for calls back or communication back from the challenge? It depends. It's probably like we're going to be working through everyone over the next week or two. So give us a moment to get back to you. Yeah, great question. How can I get... Okay, this is Jace's question. How can I get, for example, just the drivers to log in privately and the user can come in as a public sign-on? Oh, great. So you definitely can do that. Are you already in boot camp? I'm trying to figure out how like complex of an answer I can give you. I'll give you the like high level general answer though. The way that you're going to do this is you're going to have in your database a column that's called type of user. And that's either going to be driver or public, right? And then you're going to use visibility in your app so that different people see different things, right? So drivers see one thing and public sees another thing, and that's how that's going to be set up in your app. If you want to know more about that, we would have to talk more in detail. Cool. Raksha has a question. When you finish your app and you publish it in the free version of Glide and you select the access with public email, what do the users have access to? Can they see all your database? No. So no, they can't see your database. They can only see the app, right? Even if your app is public, that just means that you don't have to be on a special list to get to log in and create an account. But they can't make changes to your app and they can't see the database. They can only see what you've made available to them inside of the app interface. So whatever's in that phone is what they can see. Does that make sense? Cool. Sherry says, can you put a directory of Glide in all of your products? Yeah. So you can absolutely have a directory in your Glide app. And will it allow you to type in just a few words and have your specific product line drop down? Yeah, like a search bar, I think is what you mean. Yes, you can absolutely do that. So if you're just joining, let me just catch everybody up on what we're doing. If you're just joining, we are talking about the 5-day challenge that I'm doing this week, the 5-day build your own app challenge. And I'm just popping in really quickly for like 45 minutes to answer questions that have arisen from people that they're just like, hey, I have a question about my app, a question about bootcamp, a question about whatever it might be. People have questions. So I'm just here answering questions. And if you're not familiar, the 5-day challenge is a challenge where every single day I give you a short video and you follow along my video and click by click do all of the designing of the app. And that's how it works. Cool. All right. Next questions. Okay. Tina has a question. You have a community. Is there a max number of people who can access the web-based app? No, there's not a max number. Can everyone access it and then pay for the mobile version? Yeah, you could totally do that. I don't think that you should make the web version free and the mobile version paid. I think what's better is to create really awesome experiences inside of the community that people want to pay for. So for example, let's say that I have an idea for a community app that gives, I'm making something up here, professional dancers access to each other, right? I'm just making something up. Well, one thing I could do is I could just put everybody in the community and tell them to talk to each other. But that usually is not going to, you're not be able to charge very much for that. So the question that you want to ask yourself, the same question that I mentioned earlier of what do I need to add to my experience so that I can charge a premium price point, right? What do I need to add to my experience? The thing that you need to add to your experience is maybe you could do something like speed dating, for example. So everybody comes in, there's a link in the app that they can click and it opens up something like a Zoom room, and you can do it. You can use like the breakout feature so that people have, they meet with someone and you pair them in a room with one other dancer and they're able to share resources, and then you switch and go to another one, they're able to share resources. And so it's a more interactive thing. Now, if you were to put together like a professional networking speed dating event, well, you probably could charge people for tickets for it, right? And so those are the kinds of premium experiences you might want to put into your app, because if you could charge tickets for it, if you were doing it, let's say in person, then you also could charge people for app experiences for it. So the question to ask is, what do I need to include in my experience for people to be willing to pay? That makes sense? Cool. Okay. Sweet. Rodney has a question. Can I use the challenge to create my mock-up app and start sharing it before the bootcamp, or should I wait? Can you use the challenge? So in the challenge, we're creating the same app together. So if your mock-up app is exactly the same as the app that we're building, maybe you could. But I think if you're jumping into bootcamp, it makes sense to wait, because then you could figure out like your pricing and your positioning, and you may add or change features. I know that a lot of people and folks who have done bootcamp, they can comment on this. But I know a lot of people end up making changes to the idea a little bit as they go through bootcamp, because I'm going to show you and give you a bunch of things that you're like, wait a minute, I didn't think about that. Hold on. Well, okay, I need to think about that then. Right. And so there's going to be a bunch of stuff that you just haven't really considered that I'm really going to prompt you to think about and think through. Right. Cool. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Awesome. Okay, good. Significantly you business. Tara, I'm loving this. Thanks. Oh, you're so welcome. Tina says this is good feedback. Thank you. I've been loving the interactive sessions. Yes, you are so welcome. Okay. Oh, Natalie, it was clarifying what features you need. So project management. So there's a start date and end date, and the users need to complete a task is typically determined by the end date. Yep. And the milestone being met could be one person or 12 people needed. Yes, that's totally within scope of what you can build. Yes. Thank you for clarifying. So yes. Awesome. Yeah, Sherry is saying lots of people make changes during boot camp. If I were you, I would wait to do that from someone who's been through boot camp. Yeah, it's just that like there's gonna be a bunch of stuff you just never thought of, and that's why you want to do boot camp, because it's gonna like introduce you to stuff you weren't even thinking of that you need to think through. It's better to have that process in boot camp in a condensed period than like most people do is they're trying to start their business for years and they still don't even know to think of some of the things that boot campers already have a plan for and have thought through. Yeah. Sweet. Okay. Sherry says I might have missed the answer to the question about converting Google Slides to Glide. No, you can't convert Google Slides to Glide. What is on the Google slide that you want to have in Glide? You can have the same information, but you would have to recreate it. There's no like magic button to click to do that, if that makes sense. Cool. Okay, some of the past bootcamp students said that they built their app for the industry they've worked in for several years. Do I need to be in a field or industry for years to benefit from the app? No, you don't. The reason why a lot of boot campers have built their app from something that they've done for work is just because I encourage you guys to build your app around something that you know at least a little bit about. You don't have to have years of experience in it, but just something that you can relate to and know the challenges, right? Like the struggles that you might that your customer might encounter, right? So that's something I want you to think about. Clarity has a question. So if we purchase the build the app for me, how soon can your team begin, your fabulous team begin? What's the average time for completion? Is there a complexity limit within this purchase value? Yes. Okay, good question. So I'll answer them in reverse order just because I don't know. Is there a complexity limit? So there is a complexity limit. If you give us like a really, really wild app, we'd be happy to refund you for your money and say like, hey, now we've talked it through, it's not a good fit. But you would have to have something really, really complex for that to be the case. Normally, what we're able to do is we're able to say like, hey, we can do all of this except for this one feature. This one piece is actually harder than you think, but we can do something really close to it. Does that work? And usually people are like, yeah, that's fine. I wasn't trying to make it complex. I just didn't know. All right, so that's usually how it goes. We might just suggest a different way of doing maybe one thing that makes it simpler and easier to do. It takes 4 weeks for us to build the app and be completely done. So from beginning to end, 4 weeks for us to build the app. It is possible that we will build it faster than that, but that's the maximum time that it'll take. And once you sign up for the app done for you, you'll be able to, and by the way, you can see that just to be clear about what Clarity is talking about. If you go to this link, and I'll put this link into the chat for y'all. Let me share my screen. Right here. If you go here, you have this checkbox you can check for us to build the app for you. So you can check this checkbox and it'll add it for you. So as soon as you sign up with the for the app done for you, if that's the option you want to do, the next thing you'll see on the screen after you create your account will be a link to a calendar where you can schedule your first meeting with the team. So that's week 1 of week 4, right? So from 4 weeks after that first meeting, you'll have your app. Does that make sense? Cool. Great question. Great question. All right. Let's see. I think I got through. Did I miss anybody's question? Did I miss anybody's? If I missed your question, I really wasn't trying to. Just there was a lot in the chat. Any last questions? Any last questions? No. No last questions. All right. So, here's what I will. Sherry says, is there going to be an advanced or a part 2 of AWC? Send me an email and tell me what you would like to see. We've been talking about it and considering it. So I would love to hear your feedback and we can talk about it. Barbara says, so we've set up the profiles of others and they're all there as matches. But how do you filter out those that aren't matches for what we're looking for and for what they're looking for? So, Barbara, make sure that you watch the part in day 3 video because we set the filter. There's a filter setting where you filter out the people who are not the right fit, right? So make sure you go back to day 3 video because we did that and you might have just missed that part, right? Sounds like you got through some of day 3, but you maybe just, I want you to see that part because there's a filter feature that filters out what people are, the people who are not a good fit for what they're looking for. Cool. Okay. Awesome. I think that's all I got. So I will, the filter doesn't filter out what they are looking for. No, it does. I think you should just review it because you want to make sure that your logic is right. If you've done it successfully, it's going to filter out so that it only matches them with what they're looking for. So there may have been a little discrepancy in the way that you said it and the way that I said it. So just check that out. Oh, my email. You can email me at support@appswithoutcode.com. Support@appswithoutcode.com. Cool. Okay. All right. I'm going to jump off. I will see you guys for if you're tracking with me, day 4 of the challenge. Keep working, keep going, and I will talk to y'all really soon. Great. I will talk to y'all later.